Good evening, sir.
Please have a seat. Shashwat.
Thank you, sir.
Shashwat, you are from Rohtak, Haryana.
Yes, sir.
So your father is from Bhiwani.
Yes, sir.
So both of you are from Haryana.
Yes, sir.
You have done your Bachelor of Engineering, Mechanical Engineering,
Yes, sir.
and from Institute of Technology and Science, Pilani, Rajasthan.
Bits Pilani, sir.
Bits Pilani, yeah. And you are fond of basketball, and you have been the head volunteer also.
Yes, sir.
And you are co-founder of Fitbits.
That's right, sir.
So Fitbits is that wearable technology.
So it's actually Fitbit that the technology. So since our college name was Bits, so we made Fitbits
Okay.
a running club. That
All right. Okay. Marathon running you are fond of?
Yes, sir.
So what is the distance you can?
So
Half
it's-
marathon, full marathon, what is it?
So half marathon is 21.1 kilometers
Yeah.
and full is 42.2.
So which one do you normally do?
So I run both full distances, sir.
Okay. And you plogging.
Right, sir.
What is plogging?
So simply put, plogging is picking trash from the streets while in the activity of running. So it's from the Swedish word plocka, which means to pick up, and
Okay.
running, which means while running you do it.
Okay. Where do you throw that trash then while running?
So we put it in the municipal corporation garbage dump. We usually pick up plastic waste only, so it's all solid.
Okay. So you stop for a while, pick up the trash, throw it, and then you continue with your running.
Yes, sir. Sometimes we run to a place and we clean that place. We pick it all garbage in a bag and we also bring it back.
Swachh Bharat.
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. So you have given your IAS as the first preference,
Right.
IPS as the second, and Indian Foreign Service.
Yes, sir.
Then customs and IT. Optional is anthropology. And you have worked for 5 months in Conduit, India.
Yes, sir.
Okay. In Karnataka. So now you are no longer working.
No, sir. So presently I'm working in Indian Defence Estate Service.
Oh,
That I was allotted on the basis of UPSC 2020. So I'm undergoing training for that in Delhi Cancer.
okay. Indian Defence
Estate Service.
State Service.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I see. Yeah. So let me ask you this thing. Since you are a mechanical engineer,
Yes,
something
sir.
about mechanical engineering.
Yes.
So when the cars, they move at a very fast pace,
Yes.
and particularly the flat cars,
Right.
those Formula cars and so on.
Yes, sir.
Why do they lift off from the ground
Uh,
if they move at a very fast pace? There is a physics principle behind that. What is
Yes.
that principle which actually raises the car slightly from the ground and then it comes back and so on?
so I'm not very sure, but I can take a.
The same principle is applied in the case of airplanes also.
So I know it's a principle of fluid mechanics, and it's basically the lift force that's acting.
What is that principle called? It's the name after someone, a very famous scientist,
Is it Bernoulli's?
Bernoulli.
Yes.
Okay. The same application is applied in the case of when you are standing and a train is coming, you are attracted, pulled towards the train.
Right.
And why does it happen? Why does the aircraft takes off or the car takes, goes up? What is the underlying principle, the Bernoulli's principle?
Yes, sir.
What does it say?
So it's been a while since I studied mechanical
You must
engineering.
study because that
Right.
is a subject which. So the principle is that when the speed goes up,
Right.
so the pressure goes down. So a partial vacuum is created. It gives the lift to the airplane. Okay.
Thank you for that.
Okay. All right. Now, talking about wearable technology,
Yes, sir.
it's becoming very popular nowadays.
Right.
So, what is the latest things which are available on wearable technology?
So the revolution came when a brand called Garmin came up with running watches which had GPS technology. So they could very accurately track how much distance you're running, since I come from a running background. Later, sir, new features such as you can receive calls on your wearable technology. It monitors your heart rate. It monitors your other health parameters such as your sleeping routines, etc. So these are the latest innovations that are.
The most recent thing is the ECG which has come on that.
Yes, sir.
Even ECG can be recorded on your wearable watch.
Yes.
Yes. All right. What is? Have you heard a term called elevator presentation? Have you ever heard about elevator presentation? What is elevator presentation?
I'm sorry, sir.
Okay, no problem. Now, you are aspiring to become a civil servant. What
Yes,
are
sir.
the important values which a civil servant must possess?
Right. So according to me, the most important value is compassion. That the person should be able to, the civil servant should be able to understand the problem that the civil society or the people are facing. So once the person recognizes what kind of issues there, I feel he can act in a better way. For example, sir, just giving a small example, when I was trying to get my driving license made, it took a lot of time and multiple attempts to stand in that queue. There is huge queue. So standing there, you start thinking that maybe government is not very efficient. So now given a chance, working on very basic things like these, I would like to enhance the interface.
Okay, one is compassion. What are the other things?
So other skill is, I feel, leadership, because this is civil service. So we are aspiring to join the government service at the highest level. So there is a lot of staff that works under you. So to get that staff motivated, to make them finish their work, to have a sense of to inculcate a sense of belonging in them for the organization, and to get them on
what
your side.
others?
So I feel honesty is very important.
What is next?
So that's so there are more skills, but I place these virtues at the.
Okay, so one important skills which you have to keep in mind is integrity.
Yes,
that
sir.
is one of the most important things which are required in a
Yes,
civil
sir.
service.
Yes, sir.
And of course, something related to compassion, which is called empathy.
Right, sir.
Now, tell me, this particular system of governance which we have nowadays,
Yes,
it
sir.
is different from what it was in the pre-independence period.
Yes, sir.
So that was a colonial system of governance. We have a citizen-centric system of governance. Where
Yes.
Citizen is the final word. Have you heard about the 4 pillars of citizen-centric administration? What are the 4 pillars? They are called 4 E's, starting with the letter E. Have you ever heard about them?
Not this way, sir, but
Okay. So you can go and study that. It is called ethos,
right, sir.
ethics, equity, and efficiency.
Right.
They must be in every civil servant.
Yes.
Okay. So why do you want to opt for your third preference is Indian Foreign Service?
Yes, sir.
Why you are not opting for Indian Foreign Service as your first preference? Any special reason?
So there's no special reason. I would be very lucky or grateful if I get to serve in the foreign service. But sir, in the nature of the exam, you have to give a preference, and you can't rank both the services first. So for that reason, I created a preference order based on what my comfort level was, sir.
No, but you gave it as the third preference, is it?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
So it is even after IPS.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So if you are very fond of Indian Foreign Service, you could have given it as your second preference then.
So I could have, but I believe that I come from a sports background, and more than the cause of diplomacy or international relations, I relate more with the cause of, say, fitness or policing, or in general inculcating a sense of security amongst people. I could relate more with that cause, not a very strong reason, but just a tad bit more, sir.
Okay, my last question to you.
Yes, sir.
Supposing you are posted as sub-divisional magistrate,
Yes, sir.
which is generally the first posting after training
Yes, sir.
in the IAS,
Yes, sir.
and your collector tells you
Yes, sir.
that his adjoining collector, the district collector of the adjoining district,
Yes, sir.
his wife is coming, and you can show her around, and she wants to do some purchasing,
Right, sir.
and you accompany the wife of the officer, and she does a lot of purchasing, and at the end of the day, she takes those things and the payment is not made.
Right.
Now, you go and tell your collector that the payment has not been made, and he says that I don't know, I never told you not to get the payment then. You are in an ethical dilemma. What will you do?
Right. So I'll take 20 seconds to think about it. So I believe a gentle reminder or persuasion is the only thing that is possible to be done in that case, sir. For the poor shopkeepers that have faced the brunt, they I'll try and compensate them, not directly through money, but perhaps some other scheme, some other initiative. Uh,
But they may
I'm
not be
very
eligible
sure.
for that thing. You will be compensating only because the payment has not been made.
So
Would you not do something else straight, direct?
So ideally, you should file a complaint or something like that has to be done. But I don't believe it's a very practical situation because the collector is a very high-ranking official in the district, and going for a police complaint for whatever sections it's there, it's basically shoplifting if you're not paying for it. But I don't believe you can proceed.
Would
with
you
that.
not like to tell the wife of the adjoining district collector that the payment may be made by the collector himself?
So, sir, in my understanding, the wife had already left after not
Yeah.
paying.
So for what? The payment can always come back.
So that's the first option, that I'll try and persuade her and try and make her understand that you've taken something, you need to pay for it at a moral ground. So that's the
That
first
is it.
thing. Thank you so much.
You are interested in policing.
Sir.
So, as in police officer,
Yes, sir.
which are the laws, acts you are supposed to implement?
Yes, sir.
As a
So,
police officer,
the Indian Penal Code, the Criminal Code of Procedure, all those laws are there, sir.
all those means, I mean,
Right, sir.
It's specific.
specific.
So, there are different sections. I'm not
No,
very
no,
sure
I'm-
about the
No
details.
section,
Okay, sir.
only laws. Whether it is act or rules. So, Indian Penal Code is one,
Yes,
and
sir.
second is Criminal Procedure Code.
Right, sir.
Then next,
So I'm not very sure about other.
Evidence Act.
Right, sir. Evidence Act and other similar acts, special laws. Special laws.
there are many special laws.
Right.
So, tell me, during COVID-19,
Yes, sir.
many people suffered.
Yes, sir.
Which section suffered the most? Which sections of the society suffered the most?
So even
During
though the
COVID.
whole society suffers at different ways,
The most.
so I believe the people who have lost their near and dear ones, they suffer the most, and marginalized poor sections suffer
No.
much
Which-
greater.
Which sections out of those marginalized? For example,
Yes, sir. So people with lower financial status, people with say more crowded living conditions, like people in slums, people with temporary jobs who get laid off, those kind of people suffer the most.
children. Any idea about orphans, children?
So they also suffer. Sir.
They also suffered. They suffered the most.
So I can't put a quantity on how much they're suffering, but I'm sure all of them suffer.
What are the actually schemes
Right?
or provisions to take care of orphans, beggars,
Yes. Sir.
and the destitutes?
So the shelter homes, I know Delhi government runs some shelter homes for old people. Some old age homes are being run. Sir. In the cold, there are some temporary shelters that are being created for people who don't have houses to stay in. Sir. Then there is a Garib Kalyan Yojana, which puts some money in their account every month, gives them subsidized rations so that they can stay afloat during times of crisis. Sir. But they are subject to limitations of funds in terms of people not having a formalized bank account, etc. So
What are the laws actually to help them to take care of them? The orphan children.
So I believe there are schemes and there is a directive principle of state policy.
Acts, the laws.
The Juvenile Justice Act is what I can think, but that's not related to orphans. I'm not sure, sir.
Have you read the Juvenile Justice Act?
No, sir.
See, a question was asked about the dilemmas.
Yes.
And you were in an ethical dilemma.
Yes, sir.
When you work as a civil servant
Yes, sir.
and when you face actually corruption on day-to-day basis,
Yes, sir.
what comes to your mind? How you will check it or how you will tackle it?
So there is a government mechanism. There is a vigilance wing in every government organization, sir, whose job is to take care of such complaints. And
Vigilance wing.
the vigilance department is there, sir. There is a officer who's
Where?
sir in every government PSU. For example, I worked in India Trade Promotion Organization.
No, we are talking about administration, district administration, or say the
Right, sir.
government office.
Sir, there is a vigilance wing in every government office.
Suppose you encounter corruption,
Yes,
so
sir.
you will tell the vigilance wing.
Sir, I will not tell the vigilance wing, sir. I'll constitute a committee if there is a formal complaint to look into the charges. And based on that, I'll make sure some honest officers with good reputation are doing that investigation, sir. Once that investigation is complete, based on empirical findings, I will put my comments and forward it to the vigilance, sir.
Vigilance.
Yes, sir.
Then what vigilance will do?
So they will find suitable action if the charges are proved.
Under what provisions? Which provisions?
Sir, Prevention of Corruption Act, 1988 is the relevant.
And which are the agencies?
So it's Central Vigilance Commission, CVC.
Suppose you are working in a state,
Yes,
how
sir.
CVC will be involved?
So there would be State Vigilance Commission then, in that case, sir.
But the state vigilance commissioners are not having jurisdiction in your office.
This
This corruption case which has come to your notice.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So you will refer it to vigilance commission. You will complain to vigilance commission and then they initiate investigation. You can't pass the buck actually. Your corruption cases
Yes, sir.
in your department, you can't give it to some other.
So, sir, I will
Body.
constitute a committee. The committee will give some observations, sir. And I'll just make sure that investigation is done in a very fair and honest manner. Once that is done, sir, I'll forward it to the relevant authority for taking action. If I am the disciplinary action competent authority to do that, sir, I will take action based on whatever the findings are. Very impartially, sir.
Okay.
Okay. Shashwat,
Yes, sir.
you worked in Conduent India Services. This is your core sector? Your mechanical engineering?
Ma'am, this is related to data science.
Okay.
I studied mechanical as my core subject, but I had a minor degree in data science while I was studying in college, ma'am.
Okay.
So this is related to data
okay.
science.
And then you moved to ITPO.
Yes, ma'am.
So basically managerial position.
Yes, ma'am.
You want to make the transition to administration.
Yes, ma'am.
So what are the managerial skills which would be overlapping with the administrative skills in your point of view?
Right, ma'am. Ma'am, as my work experience as a technocrat, as a data scientist, exposed me to the value of data, to the potential, that the transformative potential that data has in this century. Ma'am, there is so many government organizations such as our health mission, vaccination missions, transport department that have large chunks of data that is coming in. There are so many dashboards that are reflecting. So, ma'am, I believe as a data scientist, the skills I learned to compile, consolidate, analyze, and take decisions based on that, that can come in very handy in the role of an administrator, ma'am. Apart from that, ma'am, during my tenure at ITPO, I was again heading the IT department. I was a deputy manager in that capacity, ma'am. So that brought me again close with data, and I did implement a couple of projects in that regard, ma'am, during my short tenure.
But you took a salary cut, a pay cut from one
Yes, ma'am.
to the other. To ITPO, you came on a pay cut.
Yes, ma'am, that's
So
correct.
what was the reason why you moved on? One, it wasn't your core sector. Two, there was a pay cut.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, the reason was that I was working as a data scientist and the salary was good, the prospects were good, but I still felt limited in the cause in which I was working. For example, ma'am, I was doing data science for a US pharmaceutical company and our ultimate target was to increase their sales by 2%. So I used to think that maybe I want to work at a larger canvas, something that is more, has a public interface, something that helps me bring some kind of change, some kind of positivity, apart from just driving 2%
Except
sales.
for mechanical work. I mean,
Yes,
this
ma'am.
was mechanical work, very
Yes, ma'am. That was core mechanical work.
core mechanical. Okay. Now your form says that you cleared the civil services main in January 21
Yes, ma'am.
and you appeared for the interview.
Yes, ma'am.
You were recommended for appointment.
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
Ma'am, I'm working in that capacity. When I filled the form, my appointment letter had not come. So I had not joined and
So you didn't know about it.
yes, ma'am.
Okay. You said Fitbits, you are a co-founder.
Right, ma'am.
When did you set it up?
Ma'am, this was during my third year of college.
Which year?
It was 2016, ma'am.
What is the status now?
Ma'am, it's being run by some juniors of mine. Which,
Okay, it's on the campus still.
yes, ma'am.
It's
It's a hobby running.
But it is working?
Yes, ma'am.
Because the startups, from the figures which I know, is out of every 3, only 1 will survive.
Right, ma'am.
And if you set up a startup, maybe out of 5, only the 4th or the 5th will survive. So after this, also you had any startups?
No, ma'am. I was involved in a full-time working position, so that limited my time devoting to
But
something.
on campus, it survives.
Yes, ma'am. It really does. And
And healthy and thriving?
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So even during the COVID pandemic, ma'am, we organized virtual runs because we could not do it in physical form because there was a lockdown and there was a bubble in the campus. So we did it at a virtual level. Me and my few fellow.
But the run itself, I mean, it's a run. It's a physical benefit which you get out of it, and not a virtual doesn't benefit you in any way.
Ma'am, it gives sense of happiness, and because there were some people who motivated me to.
How it is done actually? Can you just say
Treadmill.
virtual run?
So, virtual run is basically you have your own running equipment, you time yourself, and everybody runs in their own space, in their own comfort zone, and then they just submit their timings of the run. And then it is compiled and you declare who's the fastest and what your running statistics are.
But anybody can be actually winner in that.
So everybody's a winner in a marathon, sir. It's about completing that long distance, and that is a win in itself.
Okay, let's come
Yes.
to your second choice, IPS.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes? The condition of our prisons,
Yes, ma'am.
would you like to say something on that? What is the condition of our prisons? What do they need? And how, as an officer,
Yes,
you will
ma'am.
take up just one core issue and go about it?
Yes, ma'am. Now, my knowledge is limited to newspaper articles. I've never visited a prison in my real life, but from reading those statistics, it's showing 117% overcrowding and ill treatment and torture and all those things are true. One core issue that's close to my heart is fitness, ma'am. I believe I want to introduce some kind of games, some kind of fitness activities for the inmates over there, because it's not just about keeping a healthy body, it's also about staying mentally fresh, staying positive. A lot of endorphins are released when you're working out. So I would want to maybe organize some kind of game, some kind of activities for those people,
What about the under trials?
especially the under trials, ma'am, because they are usually, some statistic I read was around 60% are less than 25 years of age. They are in that 16 to 25 age group. So maybe
And
some
for
of them.
years, they are there without, any justice
Yes, ma'am.
either way being given to them. Do you think of compensating them for the life lost behind the bars?
Ma'am, the Supreme Court has said that if you finish half of your maximum sentence as an under trial, you are liable to be freed. But I believe, ma'am, it's a very sorry issue. It's a very sad state that most probably they are also not aware of their rights, and nor is the authorities responding. So that is another issue, ma'am. If I get that opportunity in terms of prison management, I would
Prison reforms.
prison reforms, ma'am. I would definitely take that up.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Shashwat,
Yes,
how do you view the proposal of opening the cantonment roads for the civilians?
yes.
You know, this issue has become, in fact, on social media, a couple of, at least one video in which an army personnel is being heckled by those who are passing through the cantonment roads. So it has become it was resented by armed forces also quite a bit.
Yes.
What is your take on that? Should these roads which were restricted hitherto
Yes.
for the civilian traffic be open for the civilian traffic? Because since you are in the
Of
defense
course.
estate and probably you will be dealing with these kind of subjects.
Right, sir.
Yeah?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
So, such issues are there in some cantonments.
Mhm.
One very prominent example is Sikandrabad cantonment.
Right.
So, it's right in a place where a highway passes through it and a railway station passes through it. And people are protesting, the people outside the cantonment, that they should be given access. So, the reasons why army is not allowing it is for safety reasons for the families of the people that are staying. So, my take on this is that during the busy office hours, the rush hours of the traffic, some arrangement can be done where a corridor can be left for those people. And but rest of the time, such as sensitive times as late night, it should not be allowed.
In fact, I think Telangana Assembly,
Yes,
the
sir.
minister has said that if they don't allow this, then we will cut off their water and
And
electricity and all kind of things. What is your response to that?
So a study should be done. Alternative methods should be explored first, and if possible, the army and our service should assist them finding alternative routes, because it's very paramount that when army officer is serving in the war areas, he's secure that his family is in a safe place. They're not being subject to any kind of danger, sir. For that reason, the roads are not being allowed, and I feel that should be the primary.
That's a valid reason.
It's a very valid reason.
But an alternative has to be thought of. Isn't
Yes,
it?
sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, police, IPS is your one of the,
Yes, sir.
I think second preference,
Yes, sir.
right?
Yes, sir.
By your imagination, can you tell me how, if you are in charge,
Yes, sir.
how do you propose to use artificial intelligence in the policing work?
Yes, sir. So I remember reading a case study in Ludhiana
Okay.
that they were trying to open new police chowkis or police
Right.
stations.
Hmm.
So what they did, they tried to identify location-based crimes, that on what area maximum crime is being committed, on what side more burglaries are being committed. So deployment of patrol vehicles, police patrol vehicles, more on that side, opening police posts along those lines. That's one, sir. Second, sir, road accident database is being used to determine which are the hotspots where the accidents are probable. So along those lines, more speed breakers, more emergency services are being deployed. So it's happening everywhere, sir. Beyond that, sir, the upcoming technology.
What about profiling?
Exactly, sir. Sir, profiling in terms of image processing, in terms of recognizing culprits through CCTV, even that is an upcoming application of data in policing.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
You're a marathon runner. What have been your timings of half and full marathon?
So I'll tell you the best timing. For half marathon, it's 1 hour 46 minutes. And full, it's 4 hour 25 minutes.
Consistently doing that?
Yes, sir.
Consistently you're getting that?
So this was 2019 when I believe I was peak at my peak of my fitness. It would be still close to that rate.
1 hour? How much?
46 minutes.
1 hour and
That's
46,
22
21.
kilometers.
21.
Yes, 21 kilometers.
21 kilometers. It's a good time.
1 hour.
But that's the best, sir. Like,
No,
it
that's
usually
best.
hovers around 2 hours or 1 hour
That's
55.
pretty nice time.
Thank you.
What about 1 hour 15 minutes with the rifle and pack? That's pretty good, isn't it?
That's the core. That's the top epitome of running.
Forces.
Yes,
Let's get it.
yes, sir.
Your email has sash.celtic.
Yes, sir.
So where does this Celtic comes from?
Sir, it's Celtic, which is my favorite basketball
Celtic.
team. So it's Boston Celtics, and
Yeah.
05 is Mr. Kevin Garnett. He was my favorite player when I created this email. Now he's retired, sir.
Right.
So based on that, I'd say
You're a follower of Celtics or Celtics.
yes,
Hmm?
yes,
That's your favorite team.
yes.
So which team did they have like famous rivalry with?
The Los Angeles Lakers, the team in which Mr. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal, all these players used to play. So they've had a tussle in the finals. They keep playing year after year, but most of the time it's Celtics which wins.
Most of the time. That's your opinion.
No, so that's statistics.
Okay, right. And where does this team get their name from? Why are they called Celtics or Celtics?
So the Celtics were a community in Northern Africa, which were famous for,
Africa.
yes, sir, like Europe, Africa kind of intersection, right?
Uh-huh.
They were a group of people who were pioneers in the stone technology.
Mhm.
So I believe when the Appalachian Mountains were there around Boston, some kind of digging work was going on there. And those people were the Celtics who initially came there and started the digging work. Maybe it's something related to that, I'm not very sure. But that's a reference.
So, Celtics or Celts, they come from the Ireland and Scottish parts of the British Isles. So,
Okay, sir.
yeah, there's a lot of Irish population in Boston.
Yes, sir.
That is why they are named as
Celtics.
Celtics. And what is the mascot of Celtics?
Sir, it's a... So
Leprechaun.
Yes,
It's a leprechaun. That's a
yes.
mascot, and that is also an Irish symbol.
Okay.
So that is why. Do you watch web series? And, have you been watching any of these?
So very little.
Very
not, not much.
Okay. You know anything about Celtics or Vikings? You heard anything about them?
So not in detail, sir.
Okay.
I'll read on it, sir. It sounds good.
But the web series and this OTT,
Yes.
that is the way future for entertainment, right?
Yes, sir.
So how should the government regulate the content on these OTTs?
So I believe the recent media ethics code and the OTT regulations that it has been brought under Ministry of Information and Broadcasting, that's a step in the right direction. There are provisions to cut or maybe censor scenes which are not suitable for different age groups, sir. I believe that is important because it's very hard to regulate that whether the children are consuming that content or adult population is consuming. So there should be more checks at least.
So what is better, the government regulation or self-regulation?
So self-regulation is the best thing, but and that is exactly what is being envisaged, sir. It's a three-tier mechanism. First, it's self-regulation, then independent regulator, and finally the ministry takes a call whether it should be censored or not. So I believe that's the right approach.
You watched this web series called Panchayat? No.
I've heard about it.
You heard about it?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So say if you are selected as an administrative officer,
Yes, sir.
and you are sent to a Panchayat for training for like certain period of time,
Yes, sir.
posted as Gram Sachiv. You know what is a Gram Sachiv?
Secretary, sir.
Huh?
As in a secretary of that panchayat body which is there. Maybe it's probably government appointee in that particular place, not an elected one, but an ex-official.
Which village do you belong to?
So its village is called Paitavas. It's in Bhiwani district.
Have you ever been there?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if you are posted as Gram Sachiv there,
Yes, sir.
what will be your priorities? What work are you going to do in that Panchayat?
So I've been closely associated with it, especially after my selection. I've been there a few times. So what I realize is a lot of children from there are going to nearby Bhiwani city, or they're going to Delhi to even to find a hygienic place to study. So what we did recently there, that me and one more student was selected last year. So we collected some funds and we built a reading room for those children over there. So right now around 20-25 seats are there, sir. And people are,
something to do with work of Panchayat, the essential works that Panchayat are supposed to do.
Right.
Not a philanthropic work.
So maybe women empowerment is something that I would really love to take up, in the sense to spread more awareness.
What is the primary responsibility of the Panchayat in that particular village or that Panchayat area? What is Panchayat really supposed to do?
Sir, it's supposed to assist the government in implementations of schemes such as vaccinations, such as health checkups and distribution of
development schemes.
Development schemes also, sir. So that's the work.
So what are the various development schemes that are in concurrence, like that are happening in your village? Are you aware?
Sir, I'm aware about the women-related 2-3 schemes that are there. Sir, whenever a girl is born, there is Sukanya Samriddhi Yojana, where they are encouraged to open bank account with very high returns. Next, sir, there is Matru Vandana Yojana, in which women are paid some kind of compensation for having child. Sir. Then there are Haryana government schemes also, which pay extra compensation if it's a woman that's born.
Any initiative that your Gram Panchayat is taking for like development of any kind of infrastructure or any development work within the Panchayat?
Yes, sir. Sir, they are working very strongly towards developing sports, because there has been a downfall in how many...
Like more in the development of infrastructure and like better earning opportunities within the village or something like that. That's what, like, providing some kind of employment to the people in the village. Something on those.
So I'm not very sure about it. I'm sorry.
Manrega, is it like operational in your Panchayat?
So I'm not sure about
You're not sure. Okay. You were born in Rohtak.
Yes.
A few years back, Rohtak was in news for not very, very good reasons, and there were like massive riots. What were those riots about?
So, I'm not sure, sir.
You heard about Jat Arakshan riots?
So they were not riots per se; they were protests. I misunderstood.
Right. There were massive law and order problem. A lot of people, some 55 people got shot dead. Right? Something.
So I'm not sure. There would be casualties, and it is unfortunate. Whatever.
What was the reason behind it?
So the community where I come from, it's the same community that is under consideration. And they were demanding reservation in education institutions and government jobs because they felt that they are being underrepresented in those places, sir. For that reason, sir, they took a course of protest, which in some aspects turned violent, and as you said, it might have turned righteous, which is not a very constitutional way, but this was their demand, sir.
You've heard of Chaudhry Chatura?
So I've seen some statues in Haryana, but not very
Who
sure.
was he? Can you just enlighten about like what was his contribution to freedom struggle or to
Yes, sir.
the agrarian economy or anything?
So I've just seen his statue, sir. I'm sorry, I'm not very sure about his contribution.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, Shashwat, so
Yes,
you
sir.
will go back to the waiting room for a few minutes and we'll
course.
call you again.
Thank you.
So, Shashwat, first of all, you tell us how do you feel about the performance of the interview?
I feel the content-wise, I could have done better. And, I got one question I think for zero. Apart from that, so I think some questions on data that my course field I could take with.
Okay, so just a few suggestions from our side. Otherwise, let me say that as far as when is your comment?
So, April question.
Acha, then you
Wait,
can
wait, wait.
then
If
you
want
can
to write
take.
down, you can write down. So let me tell you first of all your strengths, and then we'll talk about things where you are otherwise very good. There's no doubt about it, and you have full possibility of making it ultimately with good marks at the personality test. You have, there's no doubt. So we could find that you are mentally alert. You were able to analyze the pros and cons, so analytical skills were also there. Communication skills is very good. Demeanor is very good. You have good manners and you are in a position to communicate your things very aptly. And the only thing which is perhaps required is that a knowledge about your state and the place to which you belong. And the historical aspects, the prominent leaders of your state, Chotu Ram is regarded as a Masiha of Haryana. So,
Sir, he's known as
Sir,
he has
Chotu
that.
Ram.
and his successors. One of them, Brajendra Singh, is the MP now. He was an IAS officer earlier. He resigned. He is his one of. Chaudhary Birendra Singh was a minister in the
Cabinet
BJP.
minister.
So they are all his success. So you must know about Chotu Ram. He's revered. He's respected like God, in Haryana. So you should have more knowledge about it. You must have knowledge about other chief ministers also. Who was the first chief minister of Haryana and so on. All these things. Because you cannot move away from your roots. You belong to Rohtak, you belong to Haryana, and definitely questions will be put on that. Okay. Jat agitation was another question which was asked, and you should be aware about how it was handled and so on, because IPS is also one of the preferences you have given. How you would have handled as a district magistrate or so you must know about things. Then about the social problems in Haryana, you must know the literacy of women, the sex ratio, the babas of Haryana, and otherwise agricultural development, economic development, all these things. So Haryana, you should be perfect. Go and have a deep study about Haryana, the prominent leaders. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Then you have a presence of mind, but when it came to the question of the village level development works, so the one of the OTT web series that in Panchayat was mentioned to you, where the main lead, he acts as a village secretary. Now there are different kind of infrastructural works which are carried out in a village. It will be a good idea if you pay a visit before you appear for the interview to have a first-hand knowledge how things actually happen. You may be belonging to a village, but perhaps you may not be aware about what actually goes on. So payment of streets, lights, dug wells, culverts, these are some of the developments. Manrega, all kinds of developments take place. And it is a very important 73rd and 74th amendment, which was carried out by Rajiv Gandhi when he was the Prime Minister. It is a very important landmark where empowerment of the panchayats and the local bodies was done. So the development works at the village level, you must understand. Similarly, at the local bodies in the municipal corporations also. And then you must know what are the 3 tiers of development in a district. That is, of course, the panchayat and the panchayat samiti, which is the block, and third is the zilla parishad. Okay, so you must understand role of collector in development works, role of collector in law and order, role of collector in carrying out elections, role of collector in revenue administration, role of collector in disasters like COVID-19. You must understand fully well. What is the revenue administration? You must know from the lowest level, Patwari, to the collector. Okay. Then, of course, questions were asked regarding, connected with the job which you are occupying right now, the states, that is the cantonment roads, which you were able to come out with quite well. And who suffered the most during COVID-19? That you must understand. In fact, COVID is one topic which is likely to be there in almost all interviews. What was the COVID policy? What is the COVID, the passport and the tourism? All these things are associated with COVID, and whether the policy of the government of India in sending off those COVID vaccines to other countries was a desired step or not, whether it was preventable, the second wave and so on, and the requirement of infrastructure in COVID, so that again is requirement. So otherwise it's okay. You have performed quite well, and but you must.
I'll work on these areas.
These are the areas. So look at your DAF. And the DAF actually contains every bit of thing. All the questions will emanate from your DAF only. So, as I was telling you, Rohtak, Haryana, father is from Bhiwani. You have done mechanical engineering. So, question on mechanical engineering. I asked you that question about Bernoulli's principle. So, you came out, but later on only. And then, of course, Fitbits you were able to answer. And things connected with your running and marathon, these were absolutely fine. And then, of course, anthropology, again, questions definitely will come on that. That about, I think some of the questions you were not able to answer, but that does not matter. You can't answer all the questions. If you do not know an answer, say yes, politely, I do not know. So elevator presentation was one area which I asked. Values, which a civil servant, you were able to come out with the values well. And you must understand the good governance and citizen-centric administration, things connected with secular part of the country, the corruption, and the importance that a civil servant has to be rational, ethical dilemmas. These are all situations, all hypothetical questions may be asked to you there.
Right.
So overall, it's very good. And you should be, if you have any questions, you can ask us.
So that's an interesting question you asked if the payment is not being done.
Yeah, so you have to be on the right side of everything. You can't say that I'm going to oblige the shopkeepers in some other way. Don't do that.
That was wrong.
That was not correct. You have to ask the wife of that collector to pay the money. You have to stay on the right side. If a minister asks you to do something, you cannot, if it is unlawful, you will say, no, I will not do that. You can't say that I will do that. You see, these are the situations in which they will test you whether you can bend under pressure or not. So you are not expected to bend under pressure. That is one of the important qualities of a civil servant, that he has to ensure impartiality, integrity, honesty, and also efficiency.
And if you keep obliging one lady, see, from next year onwards, you will keep actually many visitors, many such visitors for shopping.
These are the things that I wanted to point out. One was that you have to be very, very straightforward, and always whatever happens, but you simply can say that not only I tell the collector also that you better pay up. Okay, you don't have to be scared of it. DM है तो senior है रहा है तो ठीक है तो भी क्या issue?
There is only one way to deal with it.
There's only one way that somebody who bought, he has to pay. That's all. You are not there to oblige anyone. Okay, so no matter. I was just wondering when you answered the question, why it is only a DM, neighboring DM's wife. What happens if CM's wife comes? So maybe then you will the entire district to her. So it doesn't work like that. Okay, you have to be very, very straightforward with that.
But don't ignore the ladies totally. Sorry. Because when you walked in, you didn't wish me.
Did you notice that? Or you didn't notice? I mean, women on one side.
No, sir.
But I noticed.
Right.
You said, sir, and that is it. You ignored. So, somebody on the panel will really take umbrage on that.
I'll be very careful. In fact, it was suggested through some understanding that only chairperson has to wish. But I stand corrected.
Okay, if that policy is there, perfectly all right. But you looked at the others.
Okay,
You see,
You didn't meet my eyes.
see, important thing
I
is that all the panelists are there.
Yes.
You have to, in fact, not only wish all of them by sirs and ma'am,
Yes.
but you have to scan them throughout, so that everyone knows that you are, and eye contact on them. So that particular thing, just the last word is that the civil servants are expected to be having 3 qualities. They need to be ethical. Here you have to be ethical. You have to ask for the money.
Right, sir.
They have to be rational,
Right.
and they have to be secular.
Right.
So these important things are going to be tested. If you give this kind of answer that I'm going to lie them in some other way, it is not going to be appreciated.
It goes against
I
the
understand.
basic
It's part of
ethical side.
etiquette. You wish the chairperson and wish the lady.
Separately.
That's the
No,
correct
if
way.
you're just wishing the chairperson, it is all right. But I noticed you looked at everybody else. You scanned everybody else, but not this side. No. I'm not taking it personally. It doesn't matter. But I'm saying for future reference, you must be careful about it.
No, even if you include all others in addressing the chairman, lady officer has to be addressed separately.
Sure. I'll
Yeah,
remember
that is yeah.
not just.
It is.
even
It is
in
always
that
yeah.
person.
It is always actually you have to
They are part
separately.
of good manners
Yeah.
and etiquettes. The lady must be given the
Yes.
respect that she deserves. She
Even
must know
with
that.
saluting guidelines, ladies are supposed to be saluted as
Yes.
army is.
Yes,
Yeah.
it is there. It is there.
Just one, this observation. And do not try to guide the discussion onto like your from here, because I saw that several questions you tried to guide them towards sports. Okay, so I mean, yeah, so if there's because there is a lot of world beyond sports rules, right? So that is what somebody is asking what development works would you do in a district. So and sports are correct. Sports are correct, but there is that is like one of the areas. There are a lot of other works.
Sure.
So that becomes sometimes because you do it once, then it is okay. It happens twice, thrice, then it becomes that you're deliberately pushing the conversation in that direction. So that should not be.
Sure.
And what everyone felt is that you have to be more very, very earthy, grounded. Okay, very grounded. I mean, of your surroundings and of your basic background.
Sure.
All the best to
Thank
you.
you.
You do very well.
You had a long.
Just
Last
don't
one.
take, don't be complacent.
Sure.
Take it as a very rare opportunity which comes to you. It has come to you, and you must make it. Okay.
Thank you for your time.
All the best.
Thanks, sir. Have a good evening.
All the best.
Thank you.
Unacademy. Let's crack it.